What's up guys, Garrett with SelfTaughtDev. Today we're going to go over how to build an AI receptionist that can handle inbound calls and book appointments in a Google Calendar. This is what it's going to sound like when we're done.
Hello, this is Allison from A Touch of Class. How can I help you today?
Yeah, I need to book an appointment to come get my car detailed. Do you guys have 10 o'clock tomorrow available?
Just a sec. I'm sorry, 10 o'clock is not available tomorrow. However, I do have availability at 8 a.m. or 12 p.m. Would you like to proceed with either of those times?
Yeah, 12 p.m. could work.
Great. Can I have your name, please?
Garrett Hughes.
Thanks, Garrett. Can I also have your email?
It's going to be garrett.hughes@gmail.com.
Hold on a sec. Great. Just to confirm, Garrett Hughes. Your email is garrett.hughes@gmail.com. And we've got you booked for December 13. 12 p.m. Sound good?
That works.
Perfect. Your appointment is booked. If you have any questions or need to make any changes, feel free to give us a call. Thank you. Garrett, goodbye.
So that is what it's going to sound like when it's complete, and I'm sure you noticed I did step out and get a quick beard trim while that demo was rolling because I have an AI assistant to handle things for me. And you could too if you have a small business. You could follow along with this video and build it out yourself, troubleshoot, expand on it, spend all the time you need to get this built out fully, which would probably be 10s, 20s, maybe 100 hours. Or you could outsource that to my AI automation agency, EverLight AI. We are taking on new clients. So if you get through this video and decide you don't want to do this on your own, look in the description and I will have a way you can get in contact with us to talk about how you can bring AI to your small business, increase your productivity, and free up more time to focus on what matters in your business. Now, as far as getting this built, we are going to use 3 pieces of tech: Vappy, Make, and OpenAI. This is going to be very low code. The only code we're really going to do is making a few variables, making a few functions, or just naming a few functions, and that's essentially it. So Vappy is going to handle the voice flow and actually talking on the phone with our client. Make is where we're going to have workflows set up. So Vappy will invoke functions depending on how the conversation's going. It will send those function calls to Make. Make will execute specific workflows depending on what Vappy needs. So if it's getting the calendar availability, it will execute that. Or if it's setting an appointment in our calendar, it will do that. And then lastly, we will use OpenAI to handle some logic behind the scenes. Vappy and Make have free tiers that cover what we're going to need. OpenAI, you might need to throw $5, $10 on an account for. Not 100% sure if their free tier covers this now that I'm thinking about it, but we'll get to that part down the road. First off, let's focus on getting our Vappy assistant created. I'm not going to walk you through setting up an account. You're smart, you can figure that out. So just set up your account on Vappy, and once you're logged in, it should look something similar to this. This might be closed. So just click on Platform, go to Assistants, and click on Create Assistant over here. You can name the assistant anything you want. We're going to follow closely with what is built in the demo you saw earlier. So this is going to be a detailing assistant, and we're just going to use a blank template. If you want to use any of these quick start guides, you are more than welcome to play around with that. We'll create the assistant, and then we've got our basic boilerplate set up here. So the first message is what the bot is going to first say whenever the user calls. So the user calls, the bot answers. What does it need to say? I'm not going to type out everything. I'm just going to copy and paste from my previous prompt because I don't want to bore you guys with me typing stuff out. So the customer will call, the bot will answer. It will say, hey, this is Allison from A Touch of Class. How can I help you today? Nice and easy first message. From there, we need to give it more information about what the bot is, what its purpose is, how it should communicate, and steps to follow to get things done. So first off, we are going to give it an identity. And this is just the way Vappy recommends writing in their documentation, or what the examples of Vappy have in their documentation, just to separate sections of your prompt. So the first is the identity: your premier customer service agent for A Touch of Class, a car wash located in Michigan. We give it the business hours so it knows when it's open, and say it's closed on Sundays. And then we tell it what services the business provides: car wash, car detailing, and oil changes. The car detailing is what we're going to focus on. We don't give it any other information about the car wash pricing, oil change pricing, or anything like that. So that's just some extra information for now that you could expand upon. The next thing we're going to give it is the task. So its task is to assist users in booking a car detailing appointment, closely following the booking steps that we will give it later, or give them information about car wash prices or oil change prices. Again, this doesn't really apply yet because we would need to upload knowledge documents about car wash prices, oil change prices, the price variance depending on the particular vehicle, and build this out a lot further than this demo will take it. Next, we're going to give it a style. So we want it to keep its answers short and concise, mimicking real life conversation over the phone. If you don't do this, it can go off on tangents and just start talking for a while, and you want to get it to answer as short and concisely as possible because you do pay by the minute. Right now it's only 8 cents a minute. Vappy's fixed cost is 5 cents. The GPT 3.5 turbo model that we're using is 1 cent per minute, and then the voice bot is 0.022 cents per minute. That can change if you want to use a different model. They have different prices, and then same with the voice bot you are using, the price of that can change too, but we're just gonna leave the default stuff for now and keep it at 8 cents a minute. They do have a little free tier though, so you don't start off paying this. The second part of the style though is the role and task is to direct the conversation back on track if the customer tries to steer away from our task, aka book car detailing appointments. So if the customer starts talking about something random, or just trying to mess with the bot will gracefully handle that and direct the conversation back to trying to get them to book an appointment so it doesn't waste time on the phone. The next thing we're going to do is give it about the business. We've kind of touched on this already, but I like to just declare a section for it here just so it explicitly knows this information. We want our customers to leave with 100% satisfaction, so it should always be nice to them. We're also going to explicitly declare the business hours, Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then right here, we're giving it the current time, which this is how you would pass in the now variable so it knows what day it is and what time it is. Otherwise, you could be talking to the bot and it won't know what time it is. It'll just hallucinate and think it's Friday or Saturday or Sunday, and not actually know what time the customer is calling. Hallucinating is when the bot just kind of makes up data, and you want to craft your prompt in a way where it does that as little as possible, ideally not at all. Next, we are going to give it the appointment booking steps. So we're telling it to closely follow the booking steps to ensure a smooth booking process. And then down here, we are outlining those steps. So first, it's going to ask the customer what day and time they would like to book their appointment. It's going to invoke our get availability function, which we have not set up yet, but that will check the calendar and get the availability to make sure the time the customer is requesting is available. If it's unavailable, it will tell the customer and then suggest 2 alternative times. Maintain the times from get availability in memory in case we want other times from the same day. That's just so it caches that data and doesn't have to make the request again. The third step is always confirm with the user that if they would like to proceed with that time slot. Then we're going to get the user's name, we're going to get the user's email, and because we'll send them an email confirmation. Generally, if you're setting up appointments, you want to do some kind of like email confirmation or text reminder, even better. That just helps reduce flakiness of appointments, but that's kind of outside the scope of what we're talking about here. Number 6 is just confirm the booking details back to the user. Great, just to confirm, Garrett, your email is garrett.hughes@gmail.com, and we've got you booked for Monday at 3 o'clock. Sound good? The user will, or whoever's calling will say, yes, that sounds good, or they'll say, no, actually, let me change this. And then we will say, step number 7 is after details are confirmed, use the book appointment function to book the appointment. So after everything's confirmed, that's when we want to book the appointment. Do not book the appointment before your details are confirmed. Next, we're going to give it a quick little example here. So question, I'd like to get my car detailed tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Sure thing, let me check out availability for you. And then it would invoke our get availability function, which we'll set up momentarily. And then the last thing we're gonna give it here is error handling. So if the customer's response is unclear, ask clarifying questions. If you encounter any issues, inform the customer politely and ask them to repeat. So that is our entire prompt we are going to set up. I haven't got a chance to play around with the different providers a lot yet. OpenAI has worked for me with 3.5 Turbo, so that's what I've stuck with. But we're going to hit publish, and that'll get the first version of our bot out so we can talk with an assistant. We're going to set up our functions real quick before we actually talk to the assistant though. So we're going to go over to Tools. We'll click on New Tool. We'll click on Make because this is going to ping a webhook we have in make.com. We haven't set that up yet, so we don't have the URL, so we're just going to click Next and come back to that. And then we're going to set up the property name. So the property name is going to be requested date time, and this is basically going to be, it's going to send like a JSON object to Make, if you know what that is. If you don't worry about it. And then this is going to have the user's requested date and time for their appointment. So the description here is going to be the date/time the user would like to book an appointment, formatted year dash month dash date. And then we're gonna have the hour and the minute that they want their appointment. We'll save that. And that's the only property we need for this particular function. So we'll go next, and then we'll name it. We'll call this get availability. And then the description will be gets availability from the calendar. And then we'll click on next again. We will ignore this part for now. Cool, and then we've got our get availability function, and then we need one other make tool. Again, we'll skip the server URL part. This one is going to have the name of the user. It's going to have the email. And it's going to have the date and time of booking. This is going to be for when we actually book the event in the calendar, and we want to have the date and time of the booking. And then similarly to before, the date and time the user would like to book your appointment, formatted in the same way as we had it before. We'll click on save, click on next, and then this is going to be called book appointment. And the description is going to be gets the user's name, email, and books the appointment in the calendar. We'll click next, we'll click create. And then we've got our two functions that we need. So this is going to get the calendar's availability and check against when the user wants to book their appointment. And then this is going to actually invoke the webhook or call the webhook that books the appointment in the Google Calendar. Speaking of that, let's pull up Google Calendar. So we have that. Cool. So we've got a nice empty calendar here for our use. Now that is almost all that we need to get set up in here. We're going to come back and plug in the webhook URLs in a moment, but let's move over to Make. So go ahead and set up your account on Make. When you get it set up, you might be in the organization view. So just go to scenarios, or actually, I guess you can even do it in here. Just click on create a new scenario. The first thing we're going to need here is a webhook, and it's going to be a custom webhook. We need to create a webhook. We can just call this entry, because this is where all of our webhook, this is where all of the functions should hit actually. You don't need to worry about IP restrictions right now. We'll click on save, and then we'll just copy this URL, click OK, go back to VAPI, and then plug in this URL for our functions here. Cool, and it saved both of those. Now let's go ahead and expand our workflow. The thing we're gonna do after this is add a tool segment, and it's going to be a set multiple variables. This is going to be so that we can make adjustments easier in the future. There's going to be multiple places in our workflow where we will need the business hours or the time zone we're currently in, and we can set those here, so we only have to adjust them in one place if those ever change. So we'll add an item. The first one will be time zone. I'm in America/Chicago. We're going to add two more items. The second one is going to be the office hours. And this is the business's office hours. So in our scenario here, it's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then the third one we're going to need is the appointment length. and it's going to be 60 minutes. Now again, you can adjust these to fit whatever your scenario dictates, but that's what I'm going to use for now. We're going to have a router here, and this will handle branching off into each of our workflows depending on what function is called. So we are going to set up our top flow here. If we just search for get free/busy information, that's what we're looking for in the top one. And then we need to create a connection to our Google Calendar. So we can just call it My Connection. You'll sign in with your Google account. Make sure you allow it to make changes to the calendar because we're gonna need to do that. And then that's as far as we can get right now. Now we need to make an actual call. So this immediately as data arrives should be off. We're gonna run this once. We are actually going to go over here and unlink this. So it just hits our webhook, run once, there we go. So now our webhook's sitting there waiting for data. We're gonna go back to VAPI, and then we're gonna go to functions because we need to add the tools or give the bot context and access to our tools. We'll click on publish to make sure it's published. And then we will talk with our assistant. We just need to get it to invoke one of those tools to send data to our webhook so we have access to that in further steps here. So we'll click on talk with assistant.
Hello, this is Allison from A Touch of Class. How can I help you today?
Yeah, I need to book an appointment to come get my car detailed today at 3 o'clock.
This'll just take a sec.
Cool. And
This'll just take a sec.
We need to end this. We can see that we instantly got data here. So if we expand the operation, bundle, message, tool calls, the one function, we can see that it tried to invoke, or it did invoke the get availability function. And then we can dig into the arguments to see that the time the customer requested is today at 3 o'clock. And then if we reconnect this, we should have this webhook here. Now you might need to refresh or save and refresh, and then come back to this, and then it should have this webhook. But we can go into the tool calls here, the function, arguments, and then we can give the minimum time, our requested date time from the customer, and then the maximum time, we're gonna go to the calendar icon here. We're going to add days. Right here, we'll enter a 1 because we want to look forward 1 day from the minimum time, which is back in the star, our requested date time here. Now again, if that's not showing up yet, just save and refresh. Make sure you had data come through here. Those are the troubleshooting steps I'd start with, but this should show up since we made the request. And then we need to add a calendar. We'll add our fleet commander or whatever calendar you have. Ignore my demo email name here. And we'll click OK. And then next time when we invoke this function, it should get the busy slots. So if we go look in our calendar, I've got busy slots from 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and 6 to 7. Actually, let's space those out just because for the base model we're making, it can get confused sometimes when there are times right next to each other like that. Let's save rather, Control S. We'll click run once, wait for new data.
Hello, this is Allison from A Touch of Class. How can I help you today?
Yeah, I need to book an appointment to come get my car detailed today at 3 o'clock.
Give me a moment. I'm sorry, but we don't have a...
Cool, so we've got that new request. We made it all the way down here, and if we dig into our calendars, we can see the busy times. So we've got 3 to 4, 5 to 6, and 7 to 8, which in our bot here, it's in New York time. Forget where it says that. Yeah, if you open this, it says the time zone is America, New York. So you will need to take that into account when making adjustments. But it's getting all 3 of our busy times like we expect. So next we need to add come on, let me add something here. What are you doing? There we go, and then this will be an iterator because we will need to loop through the busy times our calendar has. So now we should have our Google Calendar here. We should be able to dig into this calendar and get the busy slots. And then after that, we will need a tool. We will need let's search for text aggregator. There we go. And it's going to use iterator 9, which this is right here, for our source model. And then we'll turn on the show advanced settings. Our row separator is going to be new row. And then the text down here is going to be start, semicolon. Then we need to go to our calendar, and we want a format date function here. Right here, we will have the start. So we'll go back to the star and click start. And then we are going to add the way we want the date formatted, which is how we've had it formatted before. So year, month, date. And then after that, we'll add a dash end. And then we want to basically just copy this here. And instead of start, we will say end. Accidentally deleted the closing parenthesis there. Can I not close that? What's going on with that? We'll click OK, open that up. There we go. Cool. So now it's going to loop through our busy times, and it's going to create a block of text that says start is the first busy time, the end is the end of the busy time. And then we're going to pass this into an OpenAI create a completion. I hope my head's not too much in the way here. Crap. Zoomed out a little bit so we can make sure my head's not in the way. But next we need to connect our OpenAI account. So if you haven't already, go ahead and make an OpenAI account. I'll have a link again in the description to where you can do that. And then a link to where you would get the API key, or at least the route to where you get the API key. I can't show exactly where to get that because it would expose sensitive stuff about my other keys, but I'm going to paste my key here. You don't have to have your organization ID, and then click save. Never. And then this will connect to OpenAI for us. Awesome. And then we are going to just use GPT-4o system for our model. We'll go ahead and limit the tokens to 200 because we aren't going to need massive responses. And again, limiting the tokens, just make sure it doesn't go off the rails and rack up a huge bill for us. So we're going to click add message. The first one we're going to give here is a system role. So if you don't know, you can give ChatGPT 3 different kind of roles. This is kind of like its overarching prompt of what it's supposed to do. User is more like individualized commands or like messages from the user. And then assistant, it will assume anything with the assistant role was generated by itself. As far as the text content in here, I am going to just copy and paste my prompt in here because we'll have to adjust these variables, but we'll go over this just because I don't want to retype it all here and bore you guys with the typing. But our text content here. So you are helping to book appointments for a business. You will be provided with a business busy times, aka the busy times from our calendar. Your task will be to output the free time slots if there are no busy slots provided. So if this is empty, then the entire day is free and it can book the appointment anytime it wants. We are going to delete that, and then we're going to use our tool office hours right there. Otherwise, you will only offer non-busy times in appointment length minute increments. And then we give it some rules down here as well. So we want it to always double check to make sure it's giving correct times. The business hours are the office hours here. The free times you must output, the free times you output must be between the business hours. Had to basically declare that twice, was running into issues where it would sometimes output free times that were not within the appropriate hours, but having that redeclared in a different way helped prevent that. The free times you offer must be free for at least 60 minutes, which is our appointment length time. And again, you see why we declared these variables earlier in the process. If we ever need to adjust these, like our office hours change, something like that, it makes it easy. We only have to adjust it in the tools part here and not go through and adjust it in other steps along the way. Only output free time slots in this format: 9 a.m., 2 p.m., 4 p.m., etc. Do not output any text aside from the free times, and keep it in a single line. If the time is already passed, obviously do not suggest that as a free time because it's in the past. They can't suggest that. Make sure you cross-check every free time against the busy slots and exclude any times that overlap partially or fully with busy slots. Double check that no free time falls within or touches a busy time range. And that is our developer system prompt. Now, as far as how how we're going to actually pass in the times, that's what we're using the iterator and the tools here for. So message 2 is going to be role user. So, and there we are just going to say these are the busy slots from the calendar, and we need to use the text from our tool right here in step 11. You can see that it's 11, so those kind of match up. Each start and end pair represents a busy slot. That's why we were formatting the times in that particular way here. So each start and end pair, we're telling it that is each busy slot. Do not offer any times during the busy times. We don't need to worry about the image input. Then we limit tokens to 200. Cool, so that's what we should need for our OpenAI system. Actually, I'm noticing that I switched to, so I like to use GPT-4. I've run into issues, oddly, with GPT-4o, which is supposed to be a higher version, where it is not as good at calculating the busy times. So I found that using GPT-4 resolves that issue, and I haven't really run into that since I've switched to the lower end model, oddly. Anyway, we're going to click on OK, and then after that we need to just have a webhook where we will send a response back to Vappy. And there is a specific way we need to have the request body look, or the response body. We're going to have open and closing curly braces. We're going to have result. We're basically just sending back a JSON object, if you know what that is. With results in parentheses, make sure it's structured the same as this. Makes documentation specifies that we need to send it like this. So that's what you should match your response object to. We do need to adjust this though. So result here is going to be result from our OpenAI step. So that's result 12. So is the result from step number 12. And then here we need to remove this, and we need to use tool calls ID, and that's going to give it the ID of the initial call, and that's how it knows that this response matches up to that initial call. So let's go ahead and get that other leg built. We need to get Vappy to invoke the other tool we gave it, so we have the name, email address, and time they want to book the appointment in context for our workflow. So we're going to just unlink this first little section here. We're going to run once, wait for new data, and then we're going to talk with our assistant and try to get it to book us an appointment. We might have to run once again, because the first time it invokes something, it's probably going to be the one where it tries to get the availabilities. When it doesn't get anything back, it should hallucinate and think everything's available, but we'll see if it goes that smoothly.
Hello, this is Allison from A Touch of Class. How can I help you today?
Yeah, I need to book an appointment tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
I'm sorry, but we don't have availability for tomorrow at 10 a.m. However, we do have openings at 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Would any of those times work for you?
Yeah, let's do 11.
Great. May I have your name, please?
Garrett.
Thanks, Garrett. And your email address?
Garrett.hughes@gmail.com.
Give me a moment. Great. Just to confirm, Garrett, your email is garrett.hughes@gmail.com.
Okay, so you saw how I went back here and had to click run once again. That's because the first time, like we said, it went through and tried to use the get available times tool. Because that workflow is disconnected, it hallucinated and just kind of made up times that were available. But that allowed us to get it to invoke that other tool. And we had our, where's the information? The name, email, and date and time of booking come through here. So now that we have that in context in our workflow, we can continue and build out this lower step. We'll go to add a new one. We'll click our Google Calendar and we will create an event. And then in here, we want to, one, make sure we select the calendar that we selected on our top step. If those are different, you're gonna be looking at two different calendars. Don't want that. We'll look into our tools, our functions, and this is the event name, so we'll just call this appointment with name, and then we'll put a dash in there and put their email as well. And then start date is going to be the date and time of booking. And then our end time, we are going to get that by using a calendar function called add minutes. And we will initially give this the date and time of booking. And then after that, we'll give it the appointment length. So this will take the date and time that they booked the appointment and add however long our appointment length is. In this case, it's 60 minutes. And then we will press OK. And then the only other step we need in this branch of the workflow is a webhook. We'll copy our response body here and send back something very similar. The tool calls ID will be the same because we want to make sure it's the same ID that that tool came in with, but the result will be the appointment for the name at date and time of booking was successfully booked. Cool, so that'll be our response, so Vappy knows that it was successfully booked. And then the only other thing we'll need for our workflow is to adjust which leg our router takes. So we'll click on the dots here, and we'll say get available. What did that say at the beginning? Yeah, that works, get available times. The condition we're gonna look at is the tool call function name. And if it equals get availability, then we're gonna go the top route, and then we're gonna set up a similar condition here. We're gonna say, we're gonna call it book appointment, and we're still gonna look at the function name and say if it equals book appointment, then we will take the lower route and book the appointment. And that is it. Nice and easy. That should get you something roughly like we had in that demo. Now this again isn't fully built out. There's a lot further you can go in this. You could add a leg to cancel appointments. You could add a leg to edit appointments. You could add a leg to allow it to handle an infinite number of other things. Just depends on your business use case. But like I said, this should get you the base working version that we had in that demo. Again, if you would rather just outsource this and let my AI automation agency build this out for you, look in the description of a way you can get in contact with us. Products usually range anywhere from a few $100 to a few $1,000, so just keep that in mind. If you want to do this on your own and come ask questions, link to the Discord is also in the description, as well as a link to the SelfTaughtDev subreddit. Feel free to come hang out in those, talk tech, ask questions, learn more there. And I think that's about it for this one. So I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
One.